right, good afternoon. Thank you for coming out to our session after a great session of all our pitches. Can we get another round of applause for them? All right, so we've heard it said on the main stage a couple times. We talked about the necessary role of technology, of public-private partnership, of everything that's going on right now to help us modernize and move faster. And it was emphasized more and more that doesn't happen without the workforce. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we make the workforce, especially how we overcome some of the challenges we're seeing these days with modern technology and skills far outpacing our other workforce systems. So just to get us started, I'm going to ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves briefly, talk a little bit about why they're here and why thinking about talent management is one of the most important things you can do in your route to modernization.
All right, well, thank you for the opportunity here to the Medinas. It's been a great couple of days. My name is Rob Sladen. I'm a co-founder and the CEO of Zulu Pods. We're an aerospace and defense company that's focused on bringing unique fluid delivery systems to the market. We started the company around this idea of the Tide Pod for the jet engine. So think about just the perfect amount of oil for a jet engine that only has to travel for 30 minutes or 45 minutes. You know, I think Palmer being here makes my job a little easier in the sense of we're a dual-use technology company. We're a defense company. Why are we here? Why do we care about talent? Well, at the end of the day, the company's output or a company is made up by its people, right? If you can bring together great people and give them kind of free rein, let's say, and let them do what their brains are built to do, they'll produce great products and they'll keep. That's how you'll get customers, and that's how you'll keep your customers happy. So we're loving to see that eMERGE is really leaning into the defense world, and it's great to see that Palmer and what Anduril is doing and some of these other companies are really bringing talent that normally would want to be working at places like Meta or Google in the past, and now they're trying to solve problems around national security. So at the end of the day, we're here to, part of it is also to look for talent too as we're growing.
Awesome. I'm Nick Miller. I lead the AWS Marketplace business team for our federal government, our U.S. healthcare in North America, and North American nonprofits. I'm here at eMERGE because I also believe in the dual use mandate. As a veteran, like many of the folks on stage and active duty, thank you. It's really important that our nation's best and brightest kind of put their energy towards important things that matter for our kids and our children. And we're not going to do that if we're putting ads on phones. As you said, Palmer set it up pretty easy. And so at AWS Marketplace, we think about, the digital goods are being built in digital factories. How do we provide the digital rails to take them to the services and to the warfighter and empower them with access to the best minds in industry to solve their hard problems? And so we don't believe digital transformation can happen without procurement transformation, and Marketplace is providing that kind of digital transformation for procurement. So super excited to talk about talent, and thanks for having us.
All right, hi everybody. I'm Brian Fonseca. So I'm at Florida International University. I wear 3 hats. The first is I direct the Institute for Public Policy. That institute is focused at the theme of national security, tech, cyber, AI, policy. So our charge is to produce research and produce talent. I also serve as the executive director of cyber at FIU, which is FIU's university-wide multidisciplinary cyber workforce development initiative. It produces workforce and research. And then I teach in the Department of Politics and International Relations. I'm here for really one reason. I have talent. We have lots of talent at the university. We see lots of organizations here that are desperate for talent to help produce sort of the growth and surge that you're gunning for. And so we're here to bring our students to be impactful assets to your organization. In addition to that, and in the spirit of that, it's also trying to find ways to draw alignment between what industry needs and what we're teaching in the classroom. So oftentimes faculty, university equities and organizations and events like this is to be able to ensure that we're aligning what we teach at the university to the skills of the 21st century, making sure that we're producing the talent that you're ready to pick up. And so I'm here to give you talent, take away ideas to better enhance our educational platforms at the university.
Awesome. And I'm Colonel Kristin Saling, as mentioned before. I stood up the Innovation Directorate at U.S. Army Recruiting Command, which basically meant I made them an experimental capability. And now I work for the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Manpower and Reserve Affairs. So I only highlight that because you've got a really varied group of expertise here. We've got entrepreneurial startup business. We've got AWS, which is a powerhouse. They're probably one of the only organizations out there that's the same size as the Army. You guys are about 1.5 million, we're about 1.3. And then we have the double perspective of public policy and academia. So I think that's going to make for some pretty interesting discussions. So let me just start with kind of pulling on what Paul Merlucky was talking about with the workforce and the talent thread. We look at dual use as a technical challenge. What type of talent challenges do you see being able to switch back and forth between industry and government or any of the other perspectives that we're looking at this from, and how can we best go after those?
You want to start again? Okay. So I think I'll talk about this in terms of, let's call it 3 groups. So the government side, academia, and on the company side. I think when I think about being like 17, 18, 19 years old, the traditional years that you would start going to college and maybe figuring out next steps in your life, I think it's impossible to figure out what you want to do at that young age. And so, I mean, I know we do this, but I think that on the academia side, we need to really put apprenticeships and internships as a core part of the curriculum, like to the point where maybe it's truly forced that for a semester or 2 you are going to go and learn an apprentice or learn a trade and or go intern at a company. On the government side, so let's call that the academia side. On the government side, how do we motivate or encourage companies to want to take on interns, right? Because sometimes there is, you're onboarding folks, they may not be there for that long. So how do we really encourage government to put, tax breaks in place and grants in place for the companies that are very eager to do that? And then on the talent and the company side, this is where it becomes a full circle ecosystem, right? So now the talent is like, hey, this was horrible. I'm not going to go, I don't want to go do that for the rest of my life. And then they can change their major or they've had that experience. On the on the company side, you're gonna find the good eggs and the bad eggs, or you're gonna find the folks that really love it, and then hopefully you can hire them as they come out of that internship. So those are things that I think we should put a lot of stress on.
Yeah, I'd maybe just highlight 2 kind of key things. I think the first one is, as the world moves digital, how do we build digital leaders, right? How do we train them?
Oh, I like that.
And I would often say when I was much younger, like the CEO of Goldman Sachs will always have been a trader by start. But as trading goes digital, now you're starting to see very executive people move into leadership with digital leadership. The government is becoming digital. Probably should have gotten there before, but I think it's rapidly accelerating. How do we build digital leaders? By giving them the training and giving them the exposure. And I think there's two things to think about. It's exposure is kind of what built Silicon Valley, if you think about it. Like all these people working on hard problems, and then you look at the founders coming out of Palantir or SpaceX, like they build new companies, right? How do we create that energy in the government space? And the other part is partnerships. I don't think we spend enough time on the training around partnerships, right? Like you're not going to be able to solve these problems your own. You're going to need to reach out to industry and partner with industry. How do we train the talent to understand the partnership and then bring those people in very rapidly to get the exposure to the hard problems? Because some of these startup companies, like you'll get 7 PhDs focused on this very niche area of quantum. Like those are the people you want your talent in the Army or in any government talking to if they're trying to study quantum. Not necessarily some big firm that says they do quantum. And so like this rapid exchange of people has to happen and has to be fast. And I'll just put in a pitch. It's often blocked by procurement, right? That is how we have to start to think about this.
So let me add a few things, and then I want to build on some of what you said, because I think both your comments were really good. One, I mean, in academia, we think about 3 verticals of training. We think of skilling, upskilling, and reskilling, right? Taking those that don't know where they want to go and sort of finding pathways to get them into the workforce. This does require an effort on the side of industry to pull that talent in and establish institutionalized pipelines that take students out of classrooms, move them into experiential hands-on opportunities, and then pathway right into full-time career progression. So that's, taking that skilling approach. I mean, that's foundationally what we do as a 4-year, higher educational, tertiary educational institution. And then we got to look at the reskilling and the upskilling spaces, right? There's a lot of talent that may be out there that wants to now laterally move over into a new field, especially as we start talking about tech and dual use. You look at the cyber workforce, almost 40% of the existing cyber workforce was not in cyber in school. They came out, they moved over. I mean, myself, I'm in cyber now, but that's because I took my military national security background and went to where the puck was going, which was cyberspace. And so you're starting to see a lot of people move into these tech spaces. So we got to build programming that nurtures that reskilling, taking talent that's already in the workforce, moving laterally over into other career fields where the demand is there. The third is the upskilling, right? Organizations and universities, partnerships need to continue to move towards lifelong learners, right? You don't finish a 4-year degree and that's it. Your organizations want individuals that continue to pursue excellence through lifelong learning. And so any way that we can continue to build upskilling into programming, I think is meaningful for the workforce, right? It gives universities like ours a real role in ensuring that we're aligning curriculum and we're contributing both to the skilling, or all three, the skilling, the reskilling, and the upskilling to ensure that workforces are ready to tackle not just the challenges that exist in the moment, but the challenges that are forthcoming down the road.
Just if I could add, from a company perspective, I think companies need to be encouraging lifelong learning as well. Companies need to be completely okay with somebody saying, hey, I'm just not happy anymore doing this. I want to do this. Okay, let's figure out how to work together so we can do that as a team.
No, you guys are already going in a direction I want to coach you in, but instead of asking the next question, let's keep talking about the skills and development. We started talking about lifelong learning as a necessary skill that we want people to have. What other kind of things do we need to have for this very rapidly changing world? And what kind of things do you think are overhyped, underhyped that we need to focus on?
You want me to start again?
Go for it. I know what you're going to say, and I want to build on it, but I want you to say it first.
Okay. So I'm gonna take this a little differently in terms of what I think are underhyped skills, and they're probably not that underhyped because I think everybody would agree with this, but the soft skills are so important. And so I would just share like 3 things that I think about as Zulu Pods, and I would encourage anybody to think about doing on a daily basis. Number 1 is be on time and stick to your word. Anybody can do that. Number 2 is to think about solving other people's problems at work, because then it becomes self-serving, right? For you, really, because you're helping everybody else. And number 3 is just be easy to work with and be easy to get along with folks. You do those 3 things, people are going to love working with you, and you're probably going to do great at your job on a daily basis. And if you want to stay there for a long time, you'll probably be able to stay there for a long time.
I would agree with everything you said. Like, one of the things I think is undervalued and continues to be is leadership, right? And like, one of the things I love about military service is we train leaders. And one of the things I love about where I'm at now is we have a culture of leadership, right? Learn and be curious, a key theme of continuous learning, right? One of the things I think is really undervalued, though, is the ability of leaders to dive deep into an issue, understand it, maybe not at the technical level of a builder, like how does the Gen AI actually work, but if you were betting on the over-under of Gen AI, it was 15 minutes, so if but dive real deep into the problem and then kind of get back up to the decision level that a leader has to make. And so like, I do think kind of building a talent of leadership has been kind of de-emphasized with the tech world that has kind of taken over with Gen AI. And I think it's going to be the future. They're going to be digital leaders, but they're going to be leaders. They're going to make decisions.
All right, so I'm going to tell you 2 sayings. I tell my students, hard skills get the job, soft skills get the promotion. Right? So if you study and you gain a degree in a particular application, you can do that with command. It's probably going to land you a job. But if you want to move up the ranks to VP, president, whatever that is, soft skills are going to help you move up. Interpersonal communication, teamwork, empathy, all of the things that we talk about. And universities are getting far more sophisticated in our ability to incorporate soft skill training in our hard skill training delivery. So that's one. Let me tell you what I tell my HR team. I tell my HR team, hire the athlete, train the sport. In other words, just find me the athlete and we can train them to do the jobs we need them to do because they come with the talent, that strong foundation. Now, of course, I can't take someone who has no, aptitude for computing and make them, the chief architect of my, my systems design. But the point being is that we're looking for the athlete, and then we can build on top of that what we need that athlete to do in our organization. So again, I tell my students, hard skills get the job, soft skills get the promotion. I tell my HR team, hire the athlete, we'll train the sport. And I think those are fundamentally important in understanding sort of how we need to nurture that talent pipeline. And again, part of our ecosystem is building athletes with soft skills, right? And ensuring that we have command over our ability to supply the workforce.
I think all these are excellent points, and it's kind of like watching everybody starting to use chat interface AI. And all of a sudden, we're not looking at raw coding skills. We're looking at the ability to form sentence structure in a way that is important to the machine. So continually, our skills are evolving and training. That, to me, is both encouraging because it gives us the ability to look at talent for that athlete, for that person who's a good team player, for that person who's motivated, and not somebody who comes in just with the starting list of skills because we know those are going to change. So we've only got a few minutes left. We call this kind of the speed dating round. I'm going to give each of you about a minute to go in and just talk about any resources you recommend that the folks listening to use when they're developing their workforce, or anything else, any other salient piece of advice you'd like to give them about finding and developing that workforce.
Okay. It's a great. Sure. Go.
So kind of living in the partner community, I have just found partnerships are so critical. And so when I think about top talent and they're wrestling with somebody, often what I do is say, hey, go talk to this person. I put them in that experiential, go talk to this expert, go talk to this expert. And I think we underestimate our network and how our networks can help develop talent in there, because there's a different response between a manager and a subordinate than there is between a third-party neutral contract that may help expand their mind. And many years ago, I was told, a mind once expanded will never go back. This was Secretary Cleveland. He was the only triple amputee from Vietnam who lived. And it's so true that once you expand somebody's mind and you develop their talent, it will not go back to this legacy way of thinking. And I think that's really telling with this dual use kind of wave coming. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, so I think a big part of finding talent actually starts internally with the company or the company culture. So I'll talk about we're a startup. It is challenging at times to find, I'll call it tenured experts to want to leave something where they're being paid a pretty high salary, maybe 20 years at a company. And that's a challenge. So what are some of the things we do? We try to really stress our mission. It's super important to have a mission that gets people excited to want to work for you, to get out of bed every day. Trying to pitch somebody that they're going to get a ton of stock in a company that, frankly, may not materialize, just doesn't work. There's a lot of other startups doing the same thing. So I would stress your mission. Try to get that on social. That's going to be important. We've actually done some things where we've implemented some parental leave policies that are top notch, the best in the country, we would say. So to promote, a family type of culture that, if you adopt a child, if you have a baby, we're here to support you. So, things like focusing on the mission, things like creating internal features or structure that are different. I would encourage, as you look for talent, to be thinking about developing things in-house that then your employees can't wait to tell people about how great things are because of the network effect.
So just a few comments at the end. I know we got to go. I'm looking at the timer, but I'm going to go over. I'm just very briefly. This is I'm using a lot of analogy. This is a contact sport. We have a role as a university to help produce talent. You have a role as industry and employers to help cultivate that talent. I can't tell you how important it is for you to jump in the seat and mentor students. I'm looking at Craig, all right, former Army officer. He's now at AWS. He had such an instrumental role in inspiring generations of people that went out into the national security spaces. So having professionals in the workforce come into the university mentor students and help inspire that talent to greatness, I think is a fundamental job that you can do. Not just sort of the foundation that I do in terms of helping develop skills, but they need the pull factor. I'm gonna push them to you, but if you're not pulling them in, if you're not stepping into a classroom and giving a guest lecture and getting 6 or 7 students around you that are mesmerized about what you do, then you're not helping us in terms of the global national security workforce demand. You have to contribute in that space. Ensure we're aligned with you. I mentioned that earlier. I recall at one point, I was at Georgia Tech. It was a conference on cyber. I'm looking at the curriculum and I'm asking someone from Cisco, is this the skill you need? He said, we stopped using that computing language 5 years ago. And then I look at the professor and I said, when did you start teaching it? 10 years ago. Why haven't you changed it? It's been consistent since. And so if we're not ensuring alignment, then you're not going to get good talent. And if you're not in the classroom helping us inspire, they're not coming in your direction. So contact sport, we're all in this together. We have a requirement to produce the finest talent, going into national security spaces to defend the interests of our nation, the nations that you represent. And again, I'm an academic person, but I'm telling you, it's an all hands on deck. Yeah? Okay.
That is, I think, the perfect way to bring this home, because it is a team sport. We're all in it together. That's why we're here, public-private partnership across our equities. Brian, Nick, Rob, thank you so much for being a part of this panel, and thanks for your expertise.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.